Welcome to the Polity, your deep dive into the forces shaping governance, policies, and power. From the halls of government.
You were there. I was not there. Check the record. Wait now. You were there. I was not there.
To the voices of the people.
We are suffering. This suffering is too much. It's too much. Look at the students. There's no job. They finish school. There's no job for them.
We analyze the undercurrents, expose the intrigues, and break down the narratives that define our democracy. Dr. Tony Olisa Mbeki delivering razor-sharp analysis, and Ibuka Franklin and Chisom on the question wheel, driving the conversation. We bring you the most compelling discussions on governance, policies, and power plays. Stay informed, stay engaged, stay ahead. The Polity, every weekdays at 9:15 a.m. Exclusive on Udala 104.7 FM Onitsha.
The Ministry of Defense, Mohammed Badaru, has said investigations are ongoing on the matter involving the Minister of the FCT, Yeson Wike, and a naval staff, Yerima, 2 days ago. Of course, we saw videos of that altercation, and yesterday we had an extensive conversation on what is right and what is wrong. But yesterday, at the Armed Forces Remembrance Day at the National Defense College, Abuja, the Defense Minister said, and I quote, "At the Ministry and indeed the Armed Forces, we will always protect our officers on lawful duty. We are looking into this issue and assure that any officer performing his duties lawfully will be highly protected. We will not allow anything happen to him so long as he is doing his job, and he is doing it very well." Of course, that standoff has also brought about reactions from former military chiefs. A former chief of army staff, Lieutenant General Tuko Buratai, has asked Wike to publicly apologize to President Bola Tinubu, the armed forces, and the military officer involved in that clash. If you know Buratai, he was the chief of army staff between 2015 and 2021. And to him, Wike's conduct was inappropriate and amounted to disrespect for the military. This was Buratai's stance on a post he made on his Facebook page on Tuesday evening. Of course, other military generals like General Peter Arrow, retired, said the clash highlighted the importance of respecting proper channels in a democracy. And of course, the president yesterday has asked the media to be fair in their reportage of things surrounding his government. He's also pledged his support to the media. Some persons have adjudged his government freer to the media and fairer to the media than his predecessor. You know what I mean? But of course, all of those matters we get to look at on today's edition of the Polity right here on Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Good morning to you and welcome. I am Chisom Chinedu on the analysis desk. Dr. Tony Lisambeki is here. Good morning, Tony.
Good morning, Chisom Chinedu. Good morning, Nigerians. Good morning, the good people of Southeast. Good morning in Anambra. Good morning in Onitsha. Wherever you're listening to us from, it's always a pleasure. Good morning, Ndosimo. And remember, we're here by the power of Almighty God, and we cannot do anything without His mercy, and we are giving Him glory, honor, and adoration, and we are back in the sanctuary to do the work of the Lord. Remember, there's something I always plead with everybody listening to us. We have two duties: to listen and to talk. And I will appeal to everyone, if you listen properly. Listen properly. If statements are made under context, your assessment should be within that context. Not when a statement is made.
You pick it
out and put it out of context and then tell the person you are biased or you don't know what you are talking about. We are here, we cannot deceive the public. Whatever we say here is based on the laws. Whether they are done or not done, or carried out or not carried out, we also tell you. We are not here bringing our personal sentiment, how it's been done in my family, how it's been done in Chisom's family, or what we think about it. We are guided by two principles: the ethical principle of journalism and the law. These are the two things we are being guided. So whenever we make statements, understand it from that angle is important.
All right, absolutely. We are going to go straight to telling you what the front pages of the papers say today. On our desk, just like every other day, we have the Vanguard, the Guardian, the Punch, and the Nation newspapers. And we are starting with the Vanguard newspaper. The banner headline here is Tinubu backs NGE's approval or proposal, for media tax relief, VAT exemption. This story is on page 5, and some of the writers says irresponsible reporting undermines democratic stability, asks editors to criticize but not damage Nigeria. There won't be electoral integrity without democracy. Uzodimma is speaking. And finally, as NGE seeks tax relief, low interest loans to rescue distressed media sector. Another story here on the Vanguard newspaper front page: inadequate gas throws geometric power into first blackout in 60 days, on page 19. Wike: no officer or soldier on lawful duty will be punished. Defense Minister, on page 8. A presidency clarifies Trump's threat not behind NGX sell-offs, on page 8. PDP court extends order permitting national convention till Friday, on page 49. Adversary of Pueblo hails Edo's rebirth, wheels out achievements, on page 12. Right of way crisis: telcos operating costs soar to 5.8 trillion naira. That's from the NCC, on page 9. UN names Nigeria and Mali among 16 hunger crisis hotspots. You know what that means? Hunger crisis hotspot. Quite a call for serious concern. Obagbena announces a Leke platform to challenge global content dominance, on page 48. And on the sports segment of the Vanguard newspaper, on pages 6 and 7, 2026 FIFA World Cup playoffs, Super Eagles under pressure, undeterred. These are the stories on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper. And from the Vanguard newspaper, we're going to proceed to the Guardian. And the major story, or the banner headline on the Guardian newspaper: NGE insists on free press as Tinubu urges fairness, pledges recovery, on page 6. And IHS Holding Chairman Sam Darwish credits Nigeria for strong Q3 25 earnings. This one says House probes 12 trillion naira. I'm trying to see this clearly. And okay, I'm going to move on to the next one. Nigeria records 566,300 leaked accounts amid 90.6 million global breaches. NGE insists on free press as Tinubu urges fairness, pledges recovery, on page 5. Akanu prays appeal court to stop terrorism charge ruling. Minister Sandy Wike's confrontation with military. And FG outlaws mother tongue policy, reinstates English as language of instruction. Pardon me. This is a call for concern because we find our languages being endangered, and now this. Presidency denies Trump effect on NGX sell-off as Khan seeks end to genocide. These are some of the stories on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. And then let's see what the Nation says. Pueblo has performed, says Yowatda Oshomole on page 5. Tinubu to editors, champion national unity, report boldly on page 2. Makinde has made Ibadan livable, says Obasanjo. President sends executive bill to create Cocoa Board. Pages 5 and 7 there. Controversy widens over Wike military officer clash on land. On page 3, stocks rally to 26 trillion naira on capital gains tax review plan. On page 3, conflicting court orders on convention, PDP factions clash. The writers here, Damagum's Anyang's factions give conflicting directives. Judgment today in Lamido's suit. Ibadan court extends go-ahead order. Kanu asks appeal court to quash dismissal of his new case submission on page 3. And finally, to the front page of the Punch newspaper, where we see the banner headline being Wike naval officer clash, ex-generals fume as FG orders probe. The rider, FCT Minister Yerima Faisal sparks concerns over civilian-military relations on pages 2 and 3. Bamidele Kalu differ on alleged plots to impeach Akpabio on page 7. My critics now praise me, says Obasanjo on page 17. Reps probe 23 trillion naira abandoned federal properties on page 12. National Assembly approves Tinubu's 1.15 trillion naira domestic loan on page 22. Speaking about abandoned federal properties and abandoned projects by the government, I can't just wrap my head around the kind of waste that we go into or that we sort of sanction with these abandoned projects, abandoned properties here and there, things that could actually be put into good use, Johnny. But at the end of the day, you find them abandoned, they are dilapidating, and when you want to eventually get them to be put to use, you get to even spend more. Because more often than not, the revival costs more than building an entirely new facility or project. But also on the front page of the Punch newspaper, be fair, truthful in government criticism, Tinubu tells editors. I've been asking myself, have we been unfair? I mean, editors and then the media generally to talks, analysis of the policies and actions of the Tinubu administration. Of course, only you get to tell me what you think at the later part of the show. PDP insists on a Ibadan convention amid court orders. On page 2, OPEC report shows Nigeria underproducing crude again on page 21. On pages 4 and 5, Mubat's family demands fresh probe. Bar's wife from using surname. Now, you should catch up on this conversation at the flip side of 12:25 on the cherry box. This is going to be a hot topic. You'd find this on pages 4 and 5 of the Punch newspaper. And now we go into the analysis proper. So I am going to first play an audio of the military chief who spoke yesterday, who said every soldier is going to be protected as long as he's doing his job and doing it legally. This is the audio. You should hear him for yourself.
And indeed the armed forces, I will always protect officers on local duty. So we are looking into question and be rest assured any officer on local duty be protected. I will not have anything to happen to him. Local duty, doing his job. He's doing his job incredibly well.
Okay, so he said any officer on duty who is doing his job and doing his job credibly well is going to be protected, and the military is not going to allow anything happen to him. Those were the exact words of Badari yesterday, and of course a lot of conversations have trailed that controversy. We've had military chiefs who've also come out to say Wike should apologize because according to them it was a disrespect to not just the military, not just the officer on duty, but to the president, who is the only one, and then the commander-in-chief, that's the CNC, and the president, who are the only ones that any military officer is answerable to. Now, Tony, we had this conversation yesterday. We had different opinions, of course, and some persons have questioned. I'd also like to point out the fact that you were quite emphatic on the fact that Wike was not right in his manner of approach. But now that the military is responding, do you think, or do you see Wike going on to tender an apology?
I think we are being guided by law, and most times, if you open up our mind to learn, we will learn.
Absolutely.
But if you hold back sentiment, you will never learn anything. And when the retired military, for the people talking, they are veterans, they are not serving. The people talking, because you can't just come out and talk for the military if you are serving. They have a channel through which they disseminate information to the public. So people who are talking, they are talking on their private capacity as private citizens. Once you are a soldier, yes, you're a soldier, but if you are out of service, you live a private life. If you're out of service, you live a private life. So they are talking in that capacity as just like Nigerians are talking. So they may be guided by their emotional attachment to the military or their connection to the military. But what they are saying must be weighed in view of what the law says. Yes, verbal assault is a criminal offense, irrespective of where it's coming from, because Wike verbally assaulted the young military officer, so he can be sued for verbal assault. And if you look at verbal assault, if you look at the punishment could be this issue of tendering an apology and possibly fine, or possibly imprisonment or fine. So verbal assault, if you look at it, it is criminal, just like I've always said. But that is the only area Wike got it wrong, and I said it yesterday. So asking Wike to tender apology for verbal assault, we have to put it on hold on one side and also look at it, because it is the periphery, it's not the main issue. It is not the main issue. It is reaction. It is the aftermath of what the main issue is. So remember, I can also tell you that verbal assault, there are ones that cannot even be criminal. Mere insults or harsh words may not amount to a criminal offense. They may simply be civil wrongs, maybe defamation or slander.
But then there is section 249D of the criminal code that says any person who in any public place uses insulting or abusive words or behavior to any person is guilty of an offense, punishment up to 3 months in prison or a fine.
It depends on the intent, because the same criminal code, when you threaten to kill somebody or harm someone, this is pure a criminal threat.
But the soldier didn't threaten to kill
no, I'm just giving, we are learning. We are not trying to pinpoint ourselves to just Wike soldier thing. We are trying to widen the horizon for learning, and probably we bring in the issue. So the idea is, for those who are listening, if you go through different sections of the criminal code which you pointed out, which is applicable in southern Nigeria, remember Abuja, where this happened, what is applicable is penal code. Criminal code is not even applicable, but these things are replicated in the penal code as well.
Why is the criminal code not applicable in Abuja?
Criminal code is for southern Nigeria, penal code is for northern Nigeria.
I do understand that.
Abuja is seen as
The criminal
part of the
code,
North.
is it not a part of the constitution?
No. Constitution is different. Criminal code is different. It's its own. It's a law on its own.
So the constitution, this is still on the courts, not even the
Yeah, no. We have not gone to the constitution. So, but just like I said, if you go by section 249 subsection D of the criminal code, using insulting or abusive words in a public place that may cause breach of peace is a criminal offense. That's the one you read. If you use it in a way that it causes breach of peace, not just insulting somebody or using harsh words on somebody, if you use it in a way it causes a breach of public peace, it becomes criminal. Then if you go by section 375, defamatory or injurious statement that harm a person's reputation can also be prosecuted as criminal defamation. So if you make very injurious statement that harm a person's reputation, so, but that is by the way. Let's now come back to the real issue, because what I said yesterday, and I'm still emphatic about it, many people said you don't know what you're talking about until P2B said it. Yes, the same thing I said yesterday. That was exactly what P2B said, and people were hailing him. You have spoken. This is wisdom. Promise. This is wisdom. Because of who is what. One problem with our people is they are too full of sentiment. They only take something based on who is speaking or who is involved. What I said yesterday, yes, many accepted it anyway. But when P2B went on the social media page, Facebook and then Instagram, and said exactly what I said yesterday, some of them they may be thinking you are this or you are that, started hailing him. That will tell you the kind of division we have. But that's by the way. Let's go back to the issue. The only wrong Wicked did was the works and then the insults. You a fool. That is the only wrong he did. You know what I said yesterday? All of them we are wrong. Was not what I said yesterday. I said all of them. Both the person who made the deployment, the young officer is also wrong, and Wike is wrong. But I'm now trying to partition their wrongs and putting it to them one after the other. Now, the young officer that blocked the minister from accessing a piece of land committed harakiri. Yes, if we are talking about law here, we are not talking about sentiment. See, most importantly, it's important we understand some of these issues the way they are in law. Because if you look at it, remember, Wike is exercising executive power. I don't know if you are aware. He is exercising executive power vested in Mr. President. And if you go to the Constitution says the President can exercise executive power by himself or by anybody he has delegated to do so. That is, I guess probably we may try and find the constitutional provision and read it so that people will understand the implication of what the young officer did. I've said it many times. For those who are saying we should tender apology, one, let me say this thing. Land is a civil matter. Pure civil. I don't know what is wrong with this country. Deployment of soldiers to a piece of land is a slap on the Nigerian armed forces. You are just using them to do all this megad, or what do you call it, security guard business. I have said it many times. I'm going to come back to the issue of exercising executive power vested in Mr. President. I'm going to come back to that. But let me quickly let you know that the duties of the Nigerian Armed Forces, if you go by section 217 of the Constitution that creates the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, If you go by section 217 subsection 2A, defending Nigeria from external aggression, that is number 1. Number 2, maintaining its territorial integrity and securing its borders, that is number 2. Number 3, suppressing insurrection and acting in aid of civil authorities only when called upon to do so by the president and subject to such conditions as may be prescribed by an act of the National Assembly. D, performing such other functions as may be prescribed by the law, and that law is usually the Armed Forces Act. Soldiers have no power to intervene in land disputes. They have no power, no rights, no constitutionality. For a soldier to intervene in a land related matter, it is pure illegal duty.
Isn't it also
illegality?
Isn't it also would I call it not clear enough that a soldier is not allowed to intervene in land matters, but this soldier has been sent officially to protect a retired naval chief, and by virtue of being his official or his what's it called now, his principal security officer, he also protects things that belong to him.
That is wrong,
including that land.
He is assigned to protect the lives, not properties. Somebody made a call yesterday and said that he can protect lives and property. That is not true. That's not the work of any soldier, anybody. If you see police escorts following all these VIP, they are not there to protect his properties. They are there to protect his life. We have statutory responsibility of those who are saddled with that function to protect lives and property. That is government. But government at times use institutions to work. See, let me say this. I have to be very, very clear on this. Very clear on this. Soldiers cannot guard, seize, or block access to land in favor of any individual, even a member of their family or private company, whatever relationship they have with the person. They cannot guard, they cannot seize, they cannot block access to a land in favor of anybody. They cannot even arrest, harass, chase civilians over land ownership issues. That is not their business. Land disputes are strictly civil and under the jurisdiction of civil courts and police. Or if criminal matter happens, police comes into it. Police have no business in land disputes. Put me anywhere. Police only comes in when there is a criminal breach. That is the point police steps in. Outside criminal breach, police have no business. Not to talk of soldiers. That deployment is illegal. If Lieutenant or Lieutenant Yerima, if it's true that he's one of the finest in the Nigerian Defense Academy, immediately his boss sent him on that, he would tell the boss, sir, we don't intervene in land disputes. It is outside our jurisdiction. If the boss compel him, he has every right to report. For him to have accepted to go over or guard or land, that tells you the level of training he received. And I have heard many people saying, hey, one of the finest, this and that, because some of them, they are ignorant of the law. They don't read laws. And let me say again, it is important. Whenever you see soldiers being deployed in Iran-related areas, you find out that even if their own land, let's assume they have a land and somebody is either threatening or doing this, most times they call the police. There are things they don't do themselves. There are things they don't do themselves. If a land, let's say a land in question, because this land in question belongs to a private person, a retired army chief, but I'm talking about when a land in question belongs to the Nigerian army. Let's assume this land belongs to Nigerian army, navy, or air force. Let's say barracks. All these barracks we have, training grounds, or defense installation. Soldiers, because they have a duty to protect themselves. In a way of protecting themselves, they are also protecting the land, because you must be in the land to protect yourself, because that's where they stay. They have a duty to protect that place, because in protecting that place, they're also protecting themselves. So that is only time you will see them protecting a land. They are protecting their barracks, they are protecting their training grounds, because in so doing, they're also protecting themselves. But if that land gets into dispute, they engage the necessary authorities. If somebody comes to maybe Army Barracks on Onitsha, says that land belongs to me, and definitely becomes is a civil matter, they engage the service of a lawyer who goes to court, either to defend the ownership of such land. If somebody is trying to claim the ownership, it's important. But just like I said earlier on, the only time police comes in is whenever there is a breakdown of law and order. If a land dispute leads to violent riots, arson, killings, and then when the situation is beyond the control of police, the president can call the military. It's only the president that has power to call military in aid to civilian authorities. Maybe the matter is beyond the what? The police. And when Mr. President calls on the military, he must transmit such to the National Assembly. He does not do so, in fact, unilaterally. If he does it because to ensure that the escalation is controlled, he can do it. But once he does it, he must transmit. And the National Assembly must also give the approval. See, that is your law. That is our law. No, you know what we have in this country is somebody becoming bigger than institution. I've said it many times here. We can, talk about from time to time to time. Yesterday when I was making analysis, I said, let's open up our mind to learn. And you ask yourself this question: what does the law say? I've said, the young man, for blocking the minister having sex, that is wrong. Irrespective of whatever order, he was on illegal duty. I listened to Badaro, the Minister of Defense. He said that any officer who is performing a lawful duty will always be protected. Then the question is, the duty lawful? The man or the young officer was doing, was it lawful?
What is lawful at this point?
It was purely unlawful. Getting involved in a land dispute that police cannot even do, unless there is a criminal breach. A soldier, you are guarding a piece of land. That's it. And remember, doing so amounts to using taxpayers' money, and that piece of land in question belongs to a retired former naval chief, a private citizen. For now, that's what it is. Yes, once a soldier, always a soldier. But he's living a private life, as we can reckon now. Let us be most times put sentiment aside and try to learn. Yes, when Peter was saying yesterday, deploying a soldier in a land dispute, that is not the kind of country. And some of them we are clapping. P.O. has spoken, but Tony Olisambeki said it yesterday. How many of you clapped? See, let's be real here. I don't know what is wrong with this country. I don't know what is wrong with this country. Most times we sit down here to explain to people, to make them understand. They can ask useful questions. We engage and we try to look. But, there are some that do that. I've said it many times here. Let's go back to what I said earlier on. Mr. President exercising his executive power. And some people do not know. Just like I said, yes, I think I said that Yeson Wike was actually representing the president. Symbolically, I said it yesterday. So, as we go to section 5 of the Constitution, you can understand that the president, that executive power, is vested in Mr. President. And then if you go by to other states, in the governors. Then you talk about judicial power invested in what? The judiciary, the courts. Let me read the constitution so that many of you people will know their constitution. Let me go to their constitution. I think I have one here, and I have an online constitution. Let's read it together, because what we do here is for us to learn. Pure ED, that's what we are here for. But I know people will ask, all these things you are saying, are we obeying law? Remember yesterday, I think both of us, Chisholm, remember when we are saying that Nigeria is a lawless country? I don't know if you remember it, that we are all lawless in every sense. So I'm just trying to turn to the constitution so that we would, in fact, follow the provisions of the law. So I wanted to paraphrase it, but I feel that it is important to read it out. If you go to section 4, it tells you the legislative powers of the Federal Republic of Nigeria shall be vested in the National Assembly for the Federation, which shall consist of, that is the legislative power. It talks about that of the state. Then if you leave that legislative power, you go down to, I'm talking about executive power. Because if you look at section 6, it says the judicial powers of the Federation shall be vested in the courts, to which this section relates, being courts established for the Federation. They have talked about, but let's now go to, I'm just trying to turn on to the section 5. Now, section 5 says, subject to the provisions of this constitution, the executive powers of the Federation, A, shall be vested in the president, and may subject, as aforesaid, and to the provisions of any law made by the National Assembly, be exercised by him, either directly or through the vice president and ministers of the government of the Federation, or officers in the public service of the Federation. So what was Wike doing? Wike was exercising the executive power of the president. Mr. President can exercise it directly or through the vice president or through his ministers designated for that. Yesterday, when I said that the young officer blocked the president from accessing that land, and people thought I was joking. He blocked the president. A confrontation, and some people we are clapping. When the federal government has now said we are going to order probe, retired military officers are saying, no, what's the probe for? We should tender apology. Yes, he should tender apology for assault. Anybody who assault anybody verbally should tender apology. I accept that.
And then what happens to
but
the
I'm saying
now?
The soldier should be probed. In fact, there will be a court martial set. Let him call who sent him.
Okay, so
He should be court martialed.
I asked you earlier, what then is legal? What then is a lawful duty? And I like to think that all of these things should be put out there in the public domain. And also, this balance is important to ensure, would I call it a cordial military-civilian relationship? Because if all of these balances had been set before now, the military and the civilian are part of the society would have a better relationship, a more cordial relationship. And that would also reduce instances like this. But then you were calling for a court-martial, Tony, and we know the punishment with when a military officer is doing something illegal. And also, I am curious to find out where we draw the line, especially when you say who sent him. You said it yourself. Once a soldier, always a soldier.
I think you asked a very important question. Let's begin. He's a commissioned officer. There is a difference between a soldier and an officer. Let's talk about Nigerian Army, which most of us are very familiar with. Once you're a commissioned officer, you pass through Nigerian Defense Academy. In that elaborate ceremony, you'll be commissioned. You become second lieutenant. There are those that, because of their brilliance, they may become first lieutenant because of their academic performance, depending. From second lieutenant to first lieutenant. After first lieutenant, you become what? A captain. Is that not so? From captain, you move across the ranks. I think after captain, you become a major. Before you know it, lieutenant colonel, brigadier, general, major general, lieutenant general, and general. And of course, I know the chief of defense staff is the only person who is a 5-star general. Chief of defense staff, chief of army staff is lieutenant general. And we have many major generals manning different divisions. We have one division 82 here and other divisions in the country. Most of them are manned by major generals. So that is by the way. Now, you ask important question. What is a lawful duty of a commissioned officer?
Let's be snappy about that.
A commissioned officer who is an officer of the either Nigerian Army, Navy, or Air Force who has received a commission from the president. That is the person they received that commission from. When you say you are a commissioned officer, you receive that commission from the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which formally authorizes him to exercise command and perform military duties. In fact, a lawful duty of a commissioned officer include defending the Federal Republic of Nigeria from external aggression and threats as prescribed under Section 217, subsection 2A of the Constitution, maintaining the territorial integrity, upholding military discipline and command structure. Every officer must obey lawful orders. They did not say every officer must obey orders. Lawful orders. That is the word there. Every officer must obey lawful.
Do you also think that this is also important because of the nature of the military? It's one thing for you to order your subordinates to be part of a coup, and that's an unlawful order.
And he has every right to say no. Whenever you ditch any unlawful order, your subordinate has right to say no, sir, with due respect, because he's a commissioned officer. He knows his duty.
Let's look at the merit of the matter, and also, in all fairness, now, do you think that on a normal day, a military officer can say no, sir, to a superior, and it just, happens like that?
Let me say this. Military is a very disciplined entity. Absolutely. It is well structured with full of discipline. Mm-hmm. Seniority, respect, these things are attributes of military. That's why whenever you see them, they salute you. And while they are trying to salute you, you are saluting back. That is where military is wired. And they are obligated to obey lawful order from their superior. But situation where your superior tells you, because every commissioned officer is acquainted with the Armed Forces Act, acquainted with rules of engagement, acquainted with rules of every law, every rule, he is acquainted. So he knows which one is lawful and which one is unlawful. You sent an officer to guard a piece of land. That officer accepted. And you tell me that officer knows his what? Engaging in illegal duty. I have approached so many of them. There are times some people, let me say this, a soldier is not commissioned, and whenever they do some things, possibly they have been disciplined, and most times whenever they are on any official duty, they are being led by a commissioned officer. It could be lieutenant, second lieutenant. Most soldiers are being led, and in most times whenever you see them on lawful duty, in fact even in illegal duty, because they take commands from these officers, and the officer is the one who knows better. So I have made my points very clear, because integrity matters. When you are telling Wike you have integrity, and your integrity is guarding a piece of land, what kind of integrity? And some of us don't see things beyond our immediate surroundings. You don't have integrity. If you are going to leave everything you have been trained to guard a piece of land, you don't have integrity.
Okay,
I've said it many times. It's not about that he was sent there. He has every right to remind the superior that it is outside my duty as an officer. And nobody will punish him. Nobody. Because definitely if he's been called, because
nobody will victimize him.
What do you mean by victimization? See, victimization sometimes could be everywhere. But if it is exposed, because somebody can decide that, oh, you don't do this, okay?
Who's going to expose it?
Definitely.
How is it going to be exposed?
Another thing is this. If you tell somebody who is a superior with respect that is outside my duty, sorry, sir, I'm so sorry. this, I cannot do this. It's just my duty.
Okay.
It depends on the manner.
Let's not dwell on this.
It's not when your superior tells you something which is illegal, you tell them, okay, no, go do amo. Go do amo. No! It's a disrespect. Respectfully tell him that he's outside as a commissioned officer of the Federal Republic, carrying a piece of land. Yesterday, when I heard this, or 2 days ago, I was mad. A piece of land. That's what payers are bringing their money for. So I've said it here. He should face a military court martial.
All right.
He should.
Let's go on a commercial break now. When we come back, we go to listen to what the president said yesterday at the editors' conference. He was there live and direct, and it's solidarity with the media, and he's charged the media to not criticize, not only criticize, but to criticize fairly.
You're listening to Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
Praise the Lord! Children of God, it is time to sing praises unto the Lord our God, for He alone is worthy of our praise.
The organizing committee of Unusual Praise Lagos and Onitsha specially brings to you Onitsha Unusual Praise 2025 Season 5. We have gathered again and again in God's worship before. This 2025, let's make it even bigger, grander, and better. Onitsha Unusual Praise 2025 theme: Bless the Lord, O my soul. Psalm 103 verse 1. Date: Friday 14th of November 2025. Venue: Basilica Square, Basilica of the Most Holy Trinity, Onitsha. Time: 5 p.m. till dawn. Ministering: Mr. M and Revelation, Chieru Doma, Ada Zion, Rosemary Chuku, Jude Nam, Fabian Wafo, Blessed Modesta, Avoma Kates, and many more. Onitsha Unusual Praise 2025. Join God's biggest worship east of the Niger.
There is one real estate called Higher Ground.
Higher Ground Estate Limited is a real estate company with a difference, working together as a community and growing together like one family. We have land in all the eastern states of Nigeria, Ala Igbo, Okasi Delta State, Ebo Torute. Higher Ground Estate Limited nefi sa nanya ime acquire properties. Ayi Nigeria jeru ni semeni. We have 2 titles when you come to documentation. 1, registered survey plan. 2, deed of conveyance. Higher Ground is a good place to invest, for we have a high level of return on investment, ROI. We also do land banking and estate management. Our head office is located at number 59 Orifite Street, Awada Obosi, and number 5 Frank Omare Street, opposite High Court, GRA, Asaba Delta State. You can call us on 0806 373 4641. Higher Ground Estate Limited, going higher every day.
You are cordially invited to the 10th anniversary celebration and dedication of an ultra-modern school building of Nation Builder Schools, a government-approved school known for diligence, discipline, and excellence, anchored on the Montessori approach to learning. Lady Mrs. Wando Chukwujeku, head teacher of the school. General Deaconess Mrs. Ngozi Oko, head Women and Children Department, Christ Holy Church International, the mother of the day, and the proprietress of the school. Officiating minister, His Eminence, the Most Reverend Dr. Daniel Oko, the General Superintendent, Christ Holy Church International, the father of the day, and the proprietor of the school. Date: Friday 14th November 2025. Time: 10 a.m. prompt. Venue: number 30 Orumba Street, Okpoko, Onitsha, Anambra State, Nigeria. For your inquiries, please call 090-3400-900. Come. Let us celebrate the goodness of our God. Powered by Nation Builder Schools.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM.
You're listening to the Polity. Get involved now.
but also by the integrity of the public conversation. This is where your role becomes central and indispensable as last man standing. As editors and managers of the national information space, you shape narratives, you influence public understanding, you decide what becomes national focus and how our collective challenges are interpreted. The weight of that responsibility is extremely significant. It must be exercised with wisdom, fairness, and a strong sense of national duty. Nigeria is a large, as you know, and diverse country. Debate and differences are part of our reality. However, disagreement must never translate into erosion of national cohesion. Criticism, when informed and constructive, is a service to the nation. But cynicism that breeds mistrust and despair can weaken the very foundation of the society we seek to improve. The national interest must always remain paramount. We live in a time when information travels rapidly and widely. Social media has made every citizen a potential publisher. This has benefits, but it also increases the speed and scale of misinformation. Falsehood can take root before truth has time to speak. In such an environment, the editorial function is more important than ever. Verification must be your anchor. Balance must be your principle. And professional judgment must be your guide. I urge you, therefore, to continue upholding the highest standard of journalism. Report boldly, but do so truthfully. Criticize government policy, but do so with knowledge and fairness. Your aim must never be to tear down what we are building together, but to help build a better society.
And those were the words of President Bola Tinubu yesterday at Editors' Conference. And of course, it is quite obvious what the president is pointing at. The press is the fourth estate of the realm. It means that the press is a very important part of any thriving democracy. And so, Tony, there have been questions around President Tinubu's support of the press since his administration. Would you adjudge it free and fair? Would you adjudge the press being free and fair to operate under the leadership of President Tinubu?
I listened to the statements made by Mr. President at that conference, Nigerian Guild of Editors. They had their conference yesterday, and then Mr. President was there in person, just as Minister of Information. I think Hobo Zadim also made a speech, and most media icons, media moguls, media jagabers, they were all there yesterday. And at the same time, Mr. President, I love his speech anyway. I would say kudos to him for some of the things he said there. But these things are a matter of statements. But in principle, both the media and the government, they have been having a rancorous relationship. Their relationship is rancorous, if you ask me. Yes, you ask if they have been suppressed to an extent. Yes, they have experienced such. Because if you look at the fourth estate, I remember those days. Let me digress a bit. I remember many of us, when we are growing up, we hear estates of the realm. But I know very well that it refers to traditional divisions of power or social order in a state, especially in medieval Europe. But it started with the first three. The first estate, that is the clergy, represented the church, religion, spiritual authority. Then the second estate, the nobility, represented the aristocracy or ruling class. Then the third estate, the commoners, represented everyone else, the workers, artisans, peasants, merchants. They formed the third estate. Over time, especially in the 18th century, a new force emerged, the press, that's the media. The term fourth estate was popularized by Edmund Burke. He was the one that popularized this term fourth estate as an Irish statesman during a parliamentary debate in Britain. That's how the fourth estate, because media became a force. But over time, they had no plagues. The clergy, which has taken the first estate, the nobility, the second. Then you also have the commoners, the third. Edmund Burke saw media as a force, and he made that term popular, fourth estate. So the fourth estate refers to the press or media, anywhere, anytime. The watchdog of the democracy, the watchdog of the society. They inform the public and holds government accountable. If you go to section 22 of the 1999 Constitution, you have the functions of the media which they have been mandated to do. So when you ask, Mr. President, have you suppressed the media? Because I know very well Tinubu has publicly expressed support for press freedom, because he reiterated that at the Nigerian Guild of Editors conference. He says, I can quote him, report boldly but truthful. We listen to that. Both criticisms, when informed and constructive, is a service to the nation. That's Mr. President's statement. But it's on record anyway that his government has not shut down any media houses or passed new restrictive media law. It's on record. I remember when they wanted to pass a particular bill at the National Assembly during the time of President Muhammad Buhari to guard social media expression. But we must look at how people who express their thoughts over social media, how they are being molested under this present administration. Because when we talk about media, social media is part of media.
Tell me about it.
We've seen where either the police, and yes, they will tell you cyberbullying when you defame or say things that are to be untrue. We saw what happened. Ihope Uzodinma was there. Remember, Secretary of Nigerian Bar Association, what he passed through in Imo State, what he passed through. We've seen many executives using that portion of the law to intimidate those who engage either in information. So they call it all manner of things. I can tell you different journalists. The target has not always been the media houses, but the practitioners. It also predates this government. Under Buhari, it was something else. There are so many names. But we thought that Mr. President is also into media. Yes, Mr. President is into media. He has a media house. He has TVC. He has the Nation newspaper. So he's a captain in that industry. Yes, he's a captain in that industry. He's a media owner. That's Mr. President. Even before he became the president. So it's expected that some of these things under his watch would nosedive, will come down to a great extent. That's the expectation. But we have seen the same pattern where journalists or those who express their thoughts either on social media, how they've been hounded. Remember, the Constitution guarantees freedom of thoughts, and at the same time freedom of opinion. But we've seen how people have been hounded for expressing. I don't know, because I didn't follow that conference, because I listened to a few speeches. I listened to the one made by Hope Uzodinma, the one made by the minister, the one made by Mr. President, and what the one made by Indocor Bebona, the owner of Arise, I listened to their speeches, but I did not listen to every other speech. But the point remains that we must repeal that law. That very law usually used by police. The cyber law. We must repeal it. I have made a strong case about this before now. So I think it would have been very apt if they had made that case before Mr. President yesterday. The National Assembly, because I know they were represented yesterday, should also look into that. And most times, we see a loophole in that law, and it is being leveraged upon. We've seen people being put in detention. These days they will go and get arrest warrant from the magistrate, which is more like each time the law enforcement agency approaches the magistrate dispatches without asking question. No, you must make a convincing statement before a magistrate gives you order, and even a remand order as well. There are things we need to look into, honestly speaking, our laws. Because if we continue the way it is, it will be detrimental to even our democracy, because democracy thrives where there is expression of thought, freedom of opinion. Our laws should not be used to bully. That is what it is. Our laws should not be made to bully. The Cyber Crimes Prohibition and Prevention Act of 2015, especially Section 24, I know it's an old section, which criminalizes sending messages online that are considered grossly offensive, false, or intended to cause annoyance, inconvenience, danger, obstruction, insult, injury, criminal intimidation, or enmity. So meaning that if you insult somebody online, that Section 24 is being used by the police to harm the person. We must look into that section.
Why would you insult somebody online?
It should be a civil matter. It shouldn't be criminal. It should be because if you wholly insult, somebody will sue you for civil defamation. And you approach a court, and the court will ensure the person comes. When the person first to come, bench warrant, the person will be arrested based on the order of the court. There are things we will make it become so. By the time we know that we can use these tools as against the present one as we have it here, before you know it, somebody's arrested based on a petition. Most times these arrests are made even before the petitions are written. And they rely on that. This Section 24. I've written an article on this. And our National Assembly, they are not looking into this. There was a time they wanted to pass a bill on social media regulation. Nigerians reacted. Nigerians shouted. Because everybody is watching. If not for social media, so many people will not get justice. We've seen justice being provoked, being induced, where offices and the institutions act because there was social media euphoria on that issue, or social media burst on that issue. The truth remains that, Mr. President, I love his speech, very well written, and he was not asking that government should not be criticized. He says criticize constructively. That's what he said. And at the same time, be fair. Criticize government policies. We've been doing it here.
Let's look at how the president's media team has handled things so far. Starting from some of the really sensitive matters that have cropped up since Mr. President took over the helm of affairs. Taking a look at things like when we had hashtag #EndBadGovernance protest and some of the statements that came from his media, what I call them media warriors now, his media representatives. A couple of weeks ago, the idea of President Donald Trump declaring Nigeria a nation of particular concern came up. And we saw how it was handled. For some, it was handled well. I mean, by some, it was handled well. And by some, it was just beating the drums of trouble. And again, I'd ask the people surrounding the president, media-wise, have they been doing anything worth emulating? Do you think they are doing the job well enough?
For those who are.
Because, give me a second, forgive my manners. Because they leave the media no option if they thread that way. Do they expect the media to launder what they have said or their perspective, or not to report it as abysmally as it has come off?
We have a problem. I'm gonna, answer your question in this way. The present media, most times they try to launder, and they have made a mess of one or two of these laundering. Remember when Nigerians were talking about appointment being lopsided? We saw Sunday Dare trying to justify that appointment was even, and we saw the FAPA. And he ended up not listing many appointments, Mr. President, directed towards Southwest. And then he ended up not listing so many. Nigerians started correcting him. That was very bad job. And then it comes down to issue of projects, where it was said that Mr. President was concentrating projects around Lagos, and they were trying to show that there were projects other parts of, they made another blunder. And one problem we have with this issue is that we, on the side of the media, we don't verify report. Whatever a minister says, whatever government official says, we report it that way. No verification, no attempt to find out if what he's saying is true. If we must not be in a hurry to be everywhere, we must not be in a hurry to publish news stories. We must not be in a hurry. We must do our diligent work. We must do homework. That is what they call reputation. I remember in those days, many years back, before a media house goes to press, they must have done so many works. And we know definitely we have the editorial where they try to do those verifications. It must not always come on the editorial columns or editorial pages. We know we have OPED, opposite editorial, or the one called OPED, where individuals who are making statements against or possibly statements outside the jurisdiction of the editorial board, where they have made their own individual statements or their opinion, personal opinions. We call it OPED. But the point remains that, let's assume somebody comes to commission a project, a commissioner or the president, the minister, and says the government has done this, the government has done that over the time. We have put out 50,000 this, we have, the media will report it that way. Possibly he may have given brown envelopes for them to see that whatever he has said is published. But if brown envelopes were given to those who were on ground, what about the publishing houses? Because it's their platform, those things will be published. Did anybody verify that those things the minister said or those things contained in the speech, not just the minister, not just the people from the government, from every corner, from every institution, religious institution, traditional institutions, civil liberty organizations, do we verify? In fact, I'm beginning to think that there should be a newspaper, or it could be print, that is known as fact checks. For whatever names, that whatever comes out there, whatever it is, fact checked, and then the attribute that makes it to look this way or look that way is also looked into. The only thing I have to say to Mr. President, he's a media owner, there's no doubt. We must feel the media freedom. We are not feeling it. We must feel it. And the issue of this section 24, which I mentioned earlier, that's very part of the law, because if you look at that very law, that very section is anti-media as well. They should look into that very section of the law, the Cyber Crimes Prohibition and Prevention Act of 2015. I know it has been repealed, I think, for either in 20, but then that very section is still contained in there. See, we must profess what we practice. is not by mere professing it with our lips. That's why I've said here that anybody who professes what he does not practice cannot be called a professor. I can only be a professor, not in practice. When I profess, I also put it in practice. So that's my thought about this. But the key thing is we must do better. Then I think I listened to the Bible, the owner of Arise, when he was talking about Leke, saying that he wants to set up a social media platform which he will be launching. Not that we are doing anything, but you want to challenge the foreign powers, you want to challenge China, you want to challenge United States of America. That's what he said.
Well, if people at home would embrace it, like we embrace the likes of TikTok and the rest.
TikTok is China.
That's what I'm saying. If we're going to embrace Leke as quickly as we embrace TikTok.
Let me say this. Do you know Nigerians are the one making most of these social media platforms popular? If Ronaldo makes a statement now, 80% of comments will come from Nigerians. Sorry, 60%, not 80. 60% of comments and reaction will come from Nigeria. Look at these football clubs. Whenever they play any match, look at the comment section. Mostly Nigeria. And if these people use the official handles to make a post, Nigerians are the ones making these social media platforms rich. TikToks, many Nigerians are there. Facebook, they are there.
There are
Instagram,
so many people from different parts of the world.
I know, but check the number. Don't you know that we have the number? So many of these people, they are not interested in the way we are interested. No, they are not interested at all. We command the numbers. So we can have our own thing, but I don't know how they're going to do it anyway. Because Leke will be like Instagram, Facebook, and possibly TikTok combined together.
Okay, let's.
I don't know, but the truth remains that these people have our data. Do you know all your data? Chisom, US has it. Are you not aware? All my data, they have it. The WhatsApp, you think they told us end-to-end encrypting? How sure are you? US control. That is why in China you will not be allowed to use all this app from US. That is why if you go to US, they will not allow you to use Chinese app. That is why they wanted to buy TikTok. At the end of the day, they wanted to ban it from US because they feel that China will have some of their data and their citizens, their data. China will make use of it for whatever reasons. Data is life. Data controls everything in life. So we need to have data of other people's, nationalities. For crying out loud. I don't know, but you remember some of these things. Let's see how it goes. But my concern is this: most times, whatever we truly shout and say either on social media platform, remember you are sharing your information, and this information shared, they are being held somewhere. So by the time you travel one day, they will tell you this, tell you that. Know that it's one of the informations you shared. Some of the things you've done.
Okay, let's just quickly, before we go on this commercial break and then consequently open up the phone lines, look at this report that the federal government has scrapped mother tongue as a teaching language in primary schools. Recall that before now, I think in 2022, the National Language Policy stipulated that language instruction from early childhood to primary 6 should be the mother tongue. While I must say and note that this has not been the practice. It has not been. Yesterday, Dr. Tunji Alausa said English will now be the language of instruction in Nigerian schools from primary through tertiary levels. I'm just wondering why this is new, because the one that they instituted before, they were not monitoring to see that it was not even being applied.
All these policy somersaults, today this, to tomorrow that, I think it must be underscored by national concern. For me, I have said we need to institutionalize our mother tongues. When we talk about our mother tongues, we are talking about our first local language.
Absolutely.
We must institutionalize it. And I've said
they are dying fast.
They are dying fast. And language is who you are. Once your language dies, if not for Catholic, Latin is dead. Yes. I know how Italian language as is presently spoken is derivatives of Latin. But Latin is dead. The only thing making it somehow lively or somehow alive is Catholic Church. because it's one of the languages they started with. So once your language dies, you are off. So I would not abide or possibly support this idea of the minister. We must find a balance. Yes, English, good. We must find where we bring in our mother tongue. It's dying fast. That's why I'm one of the apostles of Subibo. Subibo. And parents are not even helping better. You know that your children are being taught in English in schools, and when you come back, you start speaking. See, that's why I don't blame anybody. I can make grammatical errors. I don't care. But I cannot do that in Igbo language. That is where I care more. Because it's my language. If it is your language, I don't care. If it is my language, I care. We must hold dearly to what belongs to us. That is the truth. If you go there, they don't even get so many things about us right. I've watched football commentators. How many of our names do they get right? But you hold, or in fact, you hold me that I did not get certain names right. Because these names are English names. I didn't get them right? How many of us do they get right? It is their language. It belongs to them. Yes, we are colonized. That's why we learn the language, and it has also helped us to communicate amongst ourselves. Fine and good. But we must pay closer attention to our own language. If not, it will die off, and if it dies off, we are off.
All right then. We quickly attend to some commercials. Once we come back, we open up the phone lines. Keep it locked till the Polity on Udala Radio 104.7 FM.
You're listening to Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
N'obi mwute na n'ikene Chineke maka ezi ndụ obiri n'ụwa a, ka ezinụlọ ndị bụ olie na ọdịmegbu agụ kindred Odoje village Onitsha ji obi mwute wee na-ekwupụta maka ọnwụ nna ha, di ha, nna ha na nwanne ha nwoke bụ Paul ụmụnna olie Ọbụchukwu Malụ. Ọ gbara afọ 80 wee rapụ ụwa. Mmemme akwamozu ụbọchị Fraịde abalị 14 n'ọnwa Nọvemba 2025. Ozu ya ga-hapụ St. Charles Borromeo Hospital Mortuary ma ọkụlekere isi nke ụtụtụ. Ebuli ya gaba na ngwurube ya maka ịhụ ya anya ikpeazụ. Emechazi ya kara ya ụka enimozu na St. Francis of Assisi Catholic Church Inland Town Onitsha ma ọkụlekere 11 nke ụtụtụ. Emechazie eliozu ya na ngwurube ya dị na nọmba 118 Ọka Road Inland Town Onitsha. Ụbọchị ụka abalị 16 n'ọnwa Nọvemba 2025. Okenye Chineke nna ekele ga-adị na St. Francis of Assisi Catholic Church Inland Town Onitsha ma ọkụlekere 9 nke ụtụtụ. Ọbụchukwu Malụ nwee ezumike udo n'ime onye nwe anyị. Amen.
Matawo na Chineke bụ chi n'ezie.
Ndị be anyị ọ ga-ahụ akara aka erukwala n'ọzọ o. Ndị otu na-achịkọba Unusual Praise na Lagos nakwa Onitsha na-ewetakwara gị Onitsha Unusual Praise 2025 agba nke ise. Isiokwu ya bụ mkpụrụ obi m too dị nwenu m, abụ ọma isi nke 103 amaokwu nke mbụ. Dịka anyị si gbakọbue n'afọ ndị gara aga ito Chineke n'afọ abụ 2025, anyị niile ga-agbakọkwa ọzọ n'ụzọ pụrụ iche wee too Chineke nke ukwuu. Ọ ga-adị ụbọchị Fraịde abalị 14 nke ọnwa Nọvemba afọ abụ 2025 n'ogige Basilica Square, Basilica of the Most Holy Trinity Onitsha, bido n'elekere 5 nke uhuruchi wee ruwe na chi ọbụbọ. Ndị egwu Chineke dị iche iche dịka Mr. M and Revelation, Chinyere Udoma, Ada Zion, Rosemary Chukwu, Jude Nnam, Fabian Nwafọ, Blessed Modesta, Aboma Kiz nakwa ọtụtụ ndị ọzọ ga-anọ ebe ahụ. Sonyere anyị ka anyị niile too Chineke.
Quality bread, Wendy's bread, for your family breakfast. Wendy's bread, Opa Chane Dozialo. Wendy's bread, Mama Papa they like Wendy's bread, Chichane Nyandu. Wendy's bread, even children they like Wendy's bread, Wendy's bread, and in town. Wendy's bread, it get it better, tasty we go sweet your your belly. Wendy's your bachichoma.
Wendy's bread, tasty bread. You can contact us on our official address, Second Business Park, Enugu Road, GRA, beside CPS, Onitsha, Anambra State. We also have another branch at St. Michael Plaza, Atani Road. Also contact us on 070-1149-1571. Wendy's bread, your tasty bread.
Wendy's bread. Udala Radio, 104.7 FM.
You're listening to the Polity. Get involved now.
Get involved by putting a call across to 0803-221-6973, 0803-827-6694. Go ahead, let's hear what you have to say. Be as objective as possible. You have 2 minutes. Go straight to the point. Hello, good morning.
Hello?
Yes, hello, good morning.
Good morning, my lady.
Good morning.
Yeah, on this is I come pick my phone. Yeah, my miracle. Good morning, Satonio Becky, my friend.
Good morning,
and
you're
my
welcome.
friend Franklin.
Franklin is fine.
Everybody. It's a
Good morning.
beautiful day here, but lots of sad comments flying around about Mr. I'm reading you from Delta State. Wiki, Minister for Federal Capital Territory. And if the altercation between him and the young naval officer, I must call our attention to the fact sometimes we got to look at the nitty-gritty of the matter, not just who sold who did, where finance is coming. Here is a young officer in full glare of everybody with a naval uniform with the Nigerian flag on his head. And then you, a minister of the Federal Republic, look him straight in the face and say to him, you are a fool. You say to a naval officer who clad Nigerian Navy uniform that he is a fool. What you are saying, Mr. Winke, and anyone that can listen, is that the flag of Nigeria is a fool. The uniform is a fool. The naval rear admiral that put him on duty is a fool. Because we can know that any man that rose to the rank of a rear admiral in any of our military setup has done it right. And then he called him a fool. Automatically, he called Mr. President, CMC, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic, a fool. Now we are busy saying, where are we? No one wants to know what we can do in Abuja. I don't want to know. What really caught my attention was, you are a fool. And the young man said, no, sir, I'm not a fool. That's not true. He had the courage to say, no, sir. If it was them, like in this my Niger Delta, and this my brother was free, and you see a full clad naval officer and say you are a fool. So long as you know we're in a situation, say walking sick and with cloth or white in senator, I know what they go drown there. I'm speaking language. So Nigerians, please, we have to be careful, and I want to seize this opportunity to apologize to all the retired officers, dead, serving, everybody. Please, you must allow our excesses, the one we be tempted to say, that was what you left for us. Yeah? Otherwise, a minister would know his bounds. He would know what he's supposed to do and what he's not supposed to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your contribution.
God bless your weekend.
God bless your weekend too. 0803-221-6973, 0803-827-6694. You have 2 minutes. You're also live on Facebook at Udala Radio 104.7. Good morning.
Good morning, my honorable speaker, Tony Sambek and Chisom in the building.
Good morning.
Michael the Great on the line, calling from the commercial city of Onitsha. This beautiful morning.
Go ahead, please.
Straight to the talking point about the incident that happened in Abuja day for yesterday. There is some areas that I totally disagree with the honorable speaker. To be honest, somebody who has passed, who is a retired soldier or whatever, the person still knows the rules and guidance that guide the military. That he came out to say that Wike should apologize. Yes, he's 100% right. It's just like now, maybe you are a journalist now, and maybe you retire, it's 20 years coming, and something happened, and you came out to talk, to say something about it. Does it mean that you don't know the rules that guide ABC? You still know the rules. I think this takes us the line. And you thank the God, because that kind of soldier that is there that day, he's just a God-fearing soldier, because there is the kind of person he is. He will totally beat up Wike that day. He should be rewarded immediately. I think you please apologize.
Okay, I beg to butt in there. Beat up Wike, come off it now. Even a soldier should know that is not part of the duty. I mean, it would be very, very unbecoming of a soldier to engage in beating up a civil. Oh, come on! Now give the military some respect. Give the military some respect. A soldier would never even lay his hands on an old man.
The guy that is there is quite learned, because if he's not learned, he should have messed everything up. Cross the line.
Please, I think this is not a Biafra discussion. Let me say this: if you don't have any informed statement in law, please, you don't need to call. Here is not a Biafra law where you say anything you want to say. Beat up somebody. Can you imagine this?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you. Dr. Becky, thank you greatly.
Thank you so much.
You did great to tell us the right thing, that out of the experience in us, we cannot. Too many of us cannot. And I think you quoted Nigerian Constitution there. Right. So I don't know why this argument, because I hate Mr. Tony Becky, therefore whatever is being right, I will not take it. It's unfair, my people. And so this is his calling from territory now. Right now, our mother language, to me, can never be compared with any other in the world. The world of language is every nation, every race has their very mother tongue and their traditions and culture. Then one will not force me to speak English, to speak Francophone, to speak that's the German language here. And my no behind the fire, and a day you don't go back on Kai somewhere. I'm only able to put that to solo happy na ifan my head bad na the women and I. Because you be said na. Therefore, more say because what is so try and make Ukwanya in a day to go back to America. I make a Trump and he's very military warlord, his Congress. Let them come. The land of the Biafrans, that is our sea there, the Atlantic Ocean, and the Wanties, and rest of them down to Calabar. Where is our coast? Coast is after I need to develop Nigeria. Why not maybe abandon that? Throw that. He said you were wherever. Mwa say because maybe can do you transfer asukwa ina tukahania don't haga ambunda America. Had they ever zok time and Christians day after day. Before this rubbish began, they did not mean to kill their own. They meant only to destroy the Biafrans, the original people. But out of what the people are now saying or criticizing, they decided sometimes or whatever. They cannot cover us. They cannot shield us with all this. It is all a while. Please, for Christ's sake, men who India no choice of Tamadaka.
Okay, thank you. Your point has been noted. Your point has been noted. Thank you very much. 0803-221-6973, 0803-877-6694. We take a few more calls before heading over to Facebook. Good morning.
Hello, good morning. My name is George, calling from Asaba.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, let me say something about this Wike issue with the military man. You see, the two that what I would like to say is that I don't really understand where the speaker is coming from. Now you are trying to tell the young military personnel to disobey his superior. How is that possible? That you will not tell the man that no, you are one of the details. We have been saying what is going on. Where even the governors will tell some of the security details to go and do one or two things. Are we condemning that a military personnel? We are talking about land here. There in Asabaya, there was a man that is a military. Anytime that is coming to develop that land, the mercy man, everybody, they are all military personnel. If you see them working, you will be told that they are all military personnel. So you now say that why are they building for the superior because they are not doing what they're supposed to do. For me, is that no matter anything that happened, Wike would have handled that issue in a better way. Yes, he presenting the president. Like the military personnel, after all, the president is the head of the military. So sometimes we must find a way to strike the balance, not the issue that they let the coach marshal the military man. When we are here, there are some things that will come up from Soludo. The speaker will defend the Diodo with everything, with every arsenal that they have. And not telling a young military personnel to disobey his superior. Now, wow.
Okay, 08032216973, 08038276694.
Just like I said, if you are given a lawful order, you must obey. And I said, if you are given unlawful order, but some people don't understand the difference between lawful and unlawful.
And that's why we said in the coming days, we need that to clearly be spelled out.
I don't know. And when I said he can disobey his superior based on lawful order, unlawful, and somebody says he must obey every order.
Good morning.
Haba.
Yes, good morning.
Yes. My name is Comrade Owelchana. I'm speaking from Onitsha. Can I go on?
Yes, please.
Thank you very much. You see, there is two angles to this story. The Nyesom Wike and the young military man, Raga. You see, Nigerians are happy whenever their oppressor is being oppressed by another oppressor. You understand? They don't care to look about the law. Just like Tony Sambeki explained, everything is well clear. But on the side of Nyesom Wike, did the Nyesom Wike go there? Did he storm there to uphold the same rule of law? What was his intent? Because you have to factor all these things. Two wrongs cannot make a right quite all right. But Nyesom Wike on his own, who stormed that place, did he go there to uphold the rule of law? Has he been upholding the rule of law? Or is because this one didn't favor him? That is the question. Because if he was there to uphold the rule of law, he wouldn't have used that abusive word. He went there to intimidate the military officers there. And when he was shown resistance, that was the way he resorted to abuse. So, looking at the matter from the legal point of view, the young military officer was wrong. But we must have to remember that he was not there on his own. He was acting on instruction. But on the side of the minister, who is a civilian, what he ought to have done is, having seen the tension, having seen how everything went, he now go back. There are so many other channels he can use to resolve that matter. After all, he's not an enforcement agent. He's not an enforcement agent. He's just a main minister, appointed minister for that matter. So, all these things, why Nigerians are celebrating is understandable. It is very, very understandable. What played out in Rivers State, Nyesom Wike in connivance with the president, and how they humbled a democratically elected governor is why people are rejoicing. So anybody who is oppressing Nigerians, anything that oppresses that person, anything that threatens that person, anything that stands in resistance to some actions of that person, Nigerians will celebrate. And I join them in celebrating this one. Thank you very much.
All right, then. We're going to head over to Facebook now. Our handle is at Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Let's take your call while we try to get through to Facebook. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, ma.
Good morning.
Good morning, Honorable Speaker.
Good morning, you're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And you're going in the house. My name is calling from Mpo.
You're welcome.
My take, I want to speak on the inter-soldier matter, Yerima. I have looked at the case side by side. The soldier himself not right, and the Wike himself not right. Both of them are wrong. But Wike, as an elder, insulting the Nigerian soldier, it's uncalled for. Let's call it a state in this context. Wike is not a god in Nigeria. I heard you talking that the young man should be court-martialed. Court-martialed for doing what? For Wike calling him a fool. Do you know what it means to call a soldier in a meeting uniform a fool? Even an ordinary civilian yourself, if you call an ordinary civilian a fool, it will result to a fight. Than when you call a soldier with a military camo, complete with uniform.
Okay.
You call him a fool.
Your point has been noted. I have to let you go at this point.
That statement that makes somebody to react.
Okay. The point has been noted. Good morning. Do this in a minute. Do this in a minute if you can. Please turn down the volume on your radio set.
Good morning. This is Tuku Soben from Eastside, Akani Road.
Go ahead, please.
Eventually, that's describe national language policy, education system. Not very bad. Because my year was here and a national consciousness in the country. Because one association, in fact, all this tribalism by God to the rest of the if I was talking language, kind of national language.
English.
So, such a thing is all a very big mistake by the country. We must get our education system, the head of our state, my education system. I'm not sure how the best way to deal with it. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for your contribution. If you're asking what the language of learning now is, it's been English. All right. When we started the conversation, when we had that conversation, the point was that English has always been there, and the call for Igbo, Hausa or Yoruba or whatever native language is used in the immediate environment of the learner to be used from start to basic 6 has not been adhered to. So for me, and like Tony also agreed, we need to strengthen our local languages. This in no way has strengthened it, and even when this wasn't the case, it wasn't strengthened. So we are calling for another line of action, okay, to strengthen our local languages. On Facebook, we are going to start with your comment, quite brief and straight to the point. Colin Smart, where is it? He says, let's forget about uniforms or power. Let everyone abide by the law. Warrior Chikwadurum said he's disappointed in the Ministry of Education. Why should he assign schools to use only a borrowed language, which is English, to teach pupils? No, they are not using only English. Please, let's be clear here. However, it has been made the standard language of communication and instruction in schools. Okay? But it's not the only language. If you are in the education system, you'd know that even teaching English, we use Igbo to teach English. Yeah, actually, it works, When they are able, you move from the known to the unknown.
Yeah.
And so when they're able to identify this in Igbo, then you can go
But
ahead
there are some people that don't do that.
There are some persons that do not do that.
Yeah.
And, well, in my estimation, it is more often than not counterproductive. In my estimation, but of course we're not speaking about education here now. Let's go on to read up the comments, because we have a show coming up almost immediately after with the new parts traders, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and he said, without using our ethnic languages and dialects in education learning, how can they comprehend? They actually do. It's a complex conversation. Let's not delve into that now. Achalaike Zimuzo says, Dr. Tony, please elaborate more on penal code in the north and criminal code in the south. Does it mean that southern Nigerians are the people committing criminality while northerners are free of criminality? Come off it. What does penal actually mean? Basil Ugu says, Abuja's land disputes today are no longer about buildings, they're about law. The FCT minister has a legal power to revoke land under the Land Use Act but the power must be exercised with fairness and due process, proper notice, reason, and right of hearing. Reports show that many revocations were announced publicly, but questions remain about how many followed the full legal steps. If we allow power to replace procedure, we lose justice. Abuja must be governed by law, not emotions or uniform. Let transparency and process lead the way. Spot on. Godswill Okoye, Wike is wrong, no matter any way you want to justify it. He overreacted instead of using proper channel to resolve the matter. If Nigeria is a working country, Wike should have been behind the bar for such dramatic scene displayed by him to the younger officer. The media today in Nigeria has turned to favorable to superiors and to their clients who pay them well, rather than passing information and news the way it is. But Chiobi wants to talk about the Minister of FCT, not MCT, okay, and an army officer. To him, it's a national disgrace. Both of them need to tender an apology to Nigerians. Okay. Ugochukwu Frank, people that lack military knowledge and how the chain of command works, we are bashing the young officer for following valid orders and doing his job. We are so used to our institutions being rubbished by politicians to the extent that no institution in Nigeria can stand up to politicians without some defending the politicians. And Gumola Benga says, this is Nigeria where nothing is working. Tony, you're right, but in this Nigeria, you are not right. In this country, that doesn't work. In US or UK, what you said is okay. But where there is no law or rule of law, and it's not obeyed at the top, you're not right. Okay. No se ume ugokwe. No se ume ugokwe said, Tony, I love how you explained everything that happened between Wike and the soldier. It is wrong for the soldier to stand for. If it is wrong for the soldier to stand for his master's landed property, is it wrong for police to stand in for landed property? Then why did Wike go to the landed property with some armed policemen instead of the policeman or policemen to wait for Wike at his car while he attends to? This is the point where I say reasoning they cry.
That's why we keep explaining.
He said instead of them to wait for Wike in his car or in his home, many things have gone wrong with Nigerian security agencies. Wike shouldn't have gone to the fight for a piece of land with armed policemen. Or are they Boy Scouts? I have seen soldiers guiding. You mean to say guarding many rich men's properties and also using that means to build roadblocks in front of the properties that are assigned to them. Wike and the soldier all got it wrong. Okay, Henry Alu, your comment is the last I'm going to take. He said yesterday in the city of Afikpo, Abakaliki, the president stands firmly with the military. The defense headquarters has publicly backed the armed forces. The defense headquarters, they said lawful.
They said lawful duty.
They were emphatic on lawful
duty.
They did not say treaty.
They said lawful duty.
Tony, please, let's round.
All right, I think
you have 20 seconds to do that.
I'll do that in maybe in 20 seconds.
Don't maybe me. 20 seconds.
20 seconds. One thing is this: when we tell people, "No, you're right." Why these, people are saying, Tony, you are right here, but Wike, let's remove the person of Wike out of this. The country pays so much to train these soldiers. It's my money, your money. And that is why they're expected to be professional. In the heat of any provocation, I have said it many times here, I've told police. Some police will tell you, do you know what this man told me? I said, police, yes. This man is wrong by what he told you, but it's our money that we use to train you to be professional. To have emotional intelligence when citizens that have no training talk that way. I have told police things. And I know that I've had issue of land, with people calling me, and I got involved. I told police, soldier, you have no business. Okay. Let's leave Wike out of this. But it is wrong for Wike to use those words. And I also expect if the soldier wants, let him sue him. But the soldier, I also say he should be court-martialed. Court-martial is being tried in a military court. Why are you there? That's what I said, he should be court-martialed. Court-martial means being tried by military court. He cannot be tried in civil court, especially when things like this happen. Remember, There is a section of our law that says whenever a military man commits a criminal offense, he's obligated to try it under what? A criminal law. Somebody said something about the penal code. I may not have that time because
we don't have the time. Tomorrow is another day. Keep a date 9:15 down to 11 a.m. Thank you for your calls and your contribution. Thank you, Tony, for your wonderful analysis. So stick around. You're going to be spending the next 1 hour with Dr. Tony Olisambeki and some people from the New Parts Market.
Udala FM Janina, and even a balloon in Jebu, 104.7 in our own Ogo na Elu, Majiba Jani again, I'm a Fuanana, a Japanoli, a Fonampo, a banana was an Nakamuna, when a boo in a Nubo. Udala FM on a well, the Lulu Jebu, Ndomo Go, Ndoma.
It's only one kilo can hang well, Leonel. Swear, Jimmy Willow, again. I mean, one long night, it's only 1 kilo can hang well, Leonel. Swear, Jimmy Willow, again. I wanted to learn, and you will let your woman. Onyange is gonna know what they will do. Swear, Jimmy Willow, again. I'll go see man. I watch your email. I try now.
Ekene m unu darụrụ nne anyị anabatakwa unu ọzọ dịka unu suwenu n'ọnụ Chisom Chinedu onwe unu suwenu na anyị ga-ana ebe a wee gwa unu okwu onwe ndị chọtara anyị bụ ndị consigned landlords and allottees and men and women of new auto spare parts mkpọ ife eji new parts wee megene wee malụ ha bịara ebe ịgwa anyị okwu ha si na nwere ife ha chọrọ ikpesara ọhara ya eze na anyị mana asị na egbe according to them adị ebe akwa na ọkụkọ megịnị na egbe buru nwa ya na ụka adị egbe akwa na egbe buru nwa ya na ọgịnị ka ụwa megịnị ka ụwa nụrụ onu ya. So in the studio this morning, but before then I know you are aware ọ bụ na ịmọrọ ka m gwa gị aka m bụkwa Tony Olisambeki, the honorable speaker, and we have in the studio n'ụtụtụ ọcha ụtụtụ ka anyị ka nọ anyị na ebe a with Chief Paulinus Dike Polycarp Dike POP or one of the landlords and those allottees and those consigned trader na auto newspapers ka anyị nabata gone before anyị wee kwubezi fafa bịara ikwu biko kene ọraneze na-ege ntị
ekene m onye ọbụla
ị ga na-ekwusi okwu ike o
ọraneze ekene m onye ọbụla zere na nke ochiri
we have Mr. John Okafor nabata ndị mmadụ